Hello and welcome. I'm Rick Amos with Coin World. Today I'm joined by David Coogle, co-chairman of Kelleher Auctions in Danbury, Connecticut. David's story is interesting in this hobby. It goes back more than 4 decades. He got his start in the stamp trade as a kid in Pittsburgh, trading and dealing his way through the philatelic world before partnering with Larry Gibson in 2010 to revive the 140-year-old Daniel F. Kelleher Auctions. These days, not that he's starting in coins, he's always been in coins, but David has turned his attention to the coin and paper money, building out a department at Kelleher that's making a real run at the major numismatic auction houses. David, welcome and congratulations on making this year's most influential people list.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's been a journey, and ushering the oldest philatelic auction house, Kelleher Auctions, since 1885, known for its philatelic prowess and white glove service for all of its clients, is kind of what inspired me to go back to my roots. I started with my dad at 8 years old, going to coin shows in Pittsburgh on the weekends. He was a barber and sold coins and was president of the coin club. And, I took a different tack after doing coins into stamps, but it's brought me back to my roots. I actually worked at a hobby store that sold planes, trains, bullion, and coins and stamps, and Allegheny Money Mart in Pittsburgh. And it'll be a lot of fun seeing everybody there. The roots going back to numismatists from philatelists is really just a natural progression for our business. Many of our clients, they have the collecting gene. They have been bitten by the collecting bug, and they collect many things. And many people said, "Hey, you've done such a great job with my stamp collection. Could you help me with my coin collection? Could you help me with my banknote collection? And any other type of collectible?" We're also very big into sports cards now, having Darren Prager, our dedicated sports card enthusiast. We have a very special sale coming up next week, and a wonderful Jordan collection coming up this fall.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, you and I have known each other a long time, but this will be fun for us because we'll get to walk down memory lane a little bit, and you'll get to tell everybody else what I already know about you and your business. But you've spent decades, as you mentioned, as in stamps, and but you're personally involved in leading this transformation into coin and paper money. And what made you decide now to push into this space? Was there something in the market that happened, or was just a natural evolution for you?
I think awareness of the Kelleher brand. We want to stay relevant. Stamp collecting is a great hobby. It's had better days than it's seen today. And we want to keep Kelleher alive for the next 140 years, for the next 4 generations of collectors. So to service the needs of those collectors' interests, we decided to do some surveys and find out what other areas they were interested in coins, banknotes, sports cards, memorabilia is what we got a lot of response on. And we tested those markets and realized that we can apply the same boutique services that we apply for stamps to coins, banknotes, and other collectibles. And it's also an area where at certain levels, the auction marketplace seems to be highly underserviced. So not only is it something we can do, it's something that the market is asking us to do, and we're responding to that.
Yeah, certainly more people are paying attention to the auction business across the board. eBay, if you will, was kind of first to that market, and certainly it's grown tremendously and has room, as you point out. That being said, Heritage, Stack's Bowers, Great Collections are kind of the names that most people might recognize first because they've been here a while. What do you think Kelleher's opportunity is for consigners, that maybe things that you can do or things that they can't do or things that you think you can excel at?
Well, we can apply the same level of integrity and marketing expertise to a lower level coin collection. It doesn't have to be a 7-figure collection or a high 6-figure collection. We find a lot of clients have 10, 20, 50, 100,000, $150,000 collections. And we find that a lot of the larger firms that you mentioned earlier seem to be more interested and focused upon the top tier items. We're interested in everything else. And we started our stamp brand that way and grew it upwards vertically. And I see no reason why we can't provide the same level of service that our stamp clients expect and have come to enjoy at all levels of those price points, not just the very top. If you're selling a $100,000 coin, but if you're selling a $200 coin, we'll be there to represent it and sell it in the best possible light in auction, in a public auction that is very transparent and gives each client the understanding of what they're getting and how they're getting it.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So, the bullion driven coin market is, a lot of people buying and selling right now. This week and last week have been crazy in terms of price escalations due to political influences, if you will. And perhaps, the US hitting a $40 trillion national debt is maybe getting some attention that it hasn't gotten a while with hitting that magical number. But how do you think Kelleher is positioning itself to capture that momentum and watching it flow into the bigger numismatic houses? I mean, does the bullion market important to you as well as the numismatic value, or do you prefer one over the other?
Well, I think we want to service both areas, and we have been servicing both areas. There's a spin-off company we have, Danbury Gold and Silver, that handles the bullion aspect. So if you want to deal with Kelleher, you're not married to one venue. So if you say, "Hey, I've got this coin collection my dad left me, or a coin collection I put together," and you've got a bullion element to it. We just did a deal with Mike Abramson, beautiful deal where, a lot of silver bullion, a lot of gold bullion, and we said, "Hey, look, we don't want to put that in auction. You'll get less for it. We'll go ahead and sell that." Our commission ranges between 3% and 5% on bullion transactions, depending on the size, scope, and work we do. And we'll curate that for you and turn that into money for you on that basis, auctioning the items that are going to give us both an upside potential when we go to sell them. So if you've got collector coins, we'll auction them. If you've got bullion coins, we'll trade them. And giving clients that blended opportunity, we find, really makes a difference to each and every person, putting more money in their bank account, in their wallet, than if they just auctioned it.
Yeah, no, I think you're wise. The not huge collections, right? Because that service there is just as important as the multi-million-dollar collections as well. And everybody seems to focus at the high end. So I think you've identified a niche there. So I think you're right to be doing that. That said, I think the high grade coins are still stealing the show right now. What's your strategy, I guess, there for tracking the top tiered consignments as well as other things that Heritage or Stacks may normally go there? Because obviously that's opportunity and service is important there as well.
Well, the greatest thing about the collecting community today is the power of the internet. So although we have a curated, 145-year long list of stamp clients, we've got the entire internet, and signing up with all the different internet services, your firms, Coin World, et cetera, and publicizing our sales, it's really, you have instant access to that marketplace. It's not this secret list of a secret society. It's a very visible list. We have a double booth at the ANA show. We're making ourselves present everywhere, and we've been able to access that market. And those highest grade coins, for example, at our ANA show, we have on display for sale the registry set of Walking Liberty half dollars, valued well into seven figures, from one of our trusted stamp clients, and it's available, and we've had some interest in it. And we'll continue that offering of the highest graded things and do our very best for our clients. And I think that's what will separate Kelleher from the others. Not that the others don't want to do the best for their clients, but they're busy in doing big deals. We're able to do all the deals, including the big deals, and give them all the same level of attention, not just the biggest top tier markets.
As you and I have discussed in the past, that these graded coins are really outperforming raw coins, in today's market. And how are you providing counsel to your consigners about deciding whether the time and money of getting coins graded is worth it? The time in doing that is longer than I know it needs to be, or certainly the graders want it to be, before you bring them to auction. Do you have a position about that in terms of how you advise the consigners?
We're very simple on that. It's return on investment for our clients. So if it makes sense to get it graded, we leverage PCGS, NGC, the new CAC services when it brings us back a return for the client. We're not getting things graded to find out the grades. We're getting those things graded to validate the grades so that the people within the marketplace who want them and don't want to mess around with raw coins because they don't have time, the professionals, can leverage that and drive the prices upwards. And that's what we've seen. We've seen tremendous upward momentum on the higher grade coins from collectors. They want those coins, and there seems to be a genuine shortage at times of various things. Silver dollars, latest trend for us has been silver dollars have been really hot. It really kind of ebbs and flows. If you mentioned earlier the bullion market, if you want to share that crystal ball you're using, let me know, because I think we both could do really well with that one. But I don't know if it's fiscal policy or the value of the dollar or world politics, but things are driving the market in some interesting ways, and we're excited to be in this marketplace and help our clients bring to market the best possible way. And if it includes grading, we're aboard, totally aboard.
Good. So let's talk about currency for a second. As you know, the currency has been pretty strong for a while now across the board, and with U.S. specialty serial numbers is a mixed bag, and there's some great coins or great currency products out there. So is paper money an area where you see growth opportunities for Kelleher in addition to coins, or is one stronger than the other?
Absolutely. I would say it's interesting because coming in kind of fresh at the last 5 years into these markets, currency is a lot more like stamps, where the valuation is very demand driven, not supply driven. So if you've got a really great note and a really great grade, and there's many people looking for it, it'll bring an exceptional price. The converse can happen where you may just have one person looking for it, or you might just have limited interest. So we're definitely in the currency marketplace. We had 400 lots of currency in our last public auction sale, and I think we sold a big number of those. Some of the specialty serial numbers didn't sell. That was the only part of the group that didn't sell, and that's because it's an extremely limited market. So yes, I see ourselves continuing in with the currency marketplace and really enjoy it almost as much as the coins, to be honest with you. It's a very interesting, there's something about paper money when you look at a $100 bill or, whatever it is, the $1 billion bill from Zimbabwe or wherever it is, it tells a story.
Yeah, I get you. I had the privilege of being at the Smithsonian a couple years ago and saw a $100,000 note for the first time, and it just kind of grabs you, when you see something like that. It's different.
Yeah. I'm surprised you don't have one in your vault.
Hey, if I could figure out a way to get one, trust me, I'd have it. But it was obvious for bank-to-bank trades back in the days. I never really sold
Gotcha.
it to the public. But so you have an office in Hong Kong, which is unique and I think very cool. And you've been doing that for a number of years. I don't remember how long. I think it's been decades. But as international buyers chase bullion and rare coin and currencies.
We saw our company in Hong Kong is Kelleher and Rogers. It was formerly Dynasty Auctions. When we bought Michael Rogers, we merged it into Kelleher. Kelleher and Rogers, a much more recognized dual brand for Asian philately stamps and coins, etc. And we've actually partnered with Archives International and had several very high power currency and Asian coin sales in Hong Kong. So we're no stranger to this marketplace or in that arena. And our trusted clients within China still come to the Hong Kong sale. We had several sales of coins and banknotes, and it's been great because, the Chinese are no different than us. They like things that glitter, and all things gold and silver are good, but they're very ethnocentric collectors, and they love their history. So coins, banknotes, stamps all follow suit, and we've been able to leverage that. We just sold a complete set of gold panda coins for a very good price in our last Kelleher auction sale. Over 400,000 for that, and we had many of our Asian clients were disappointed that they weren't the winning bidder to take it home.
Good for you. Very cool. So, we are seeing at Coin World, we're seeing a lot of new faces and names come into the marketplace. With the wealth that's been created, if you will, over the last 10 to 20 years, and only going to increase. We're seeing a lot of people younger than us, but older than your kids that are now entering in the market. So if you had to describe, Kelleher's coin and paper money department or your auction process to them that may be familiar with heritage or stacks or great collections, how would you describe it, or what would you tell them that's different about how you guys operate?
Well, I think it goes back to the core excellence of our white glove services for client, from client retention to the entire experience. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, we are making sure you get the very best service on both sides of that. So, the younger marketplace, the digital marketplace, we're invested in that. We're building out software to present better than some of our previous stamp uh, possibilities, and we're leveraging those technologies that are already existing. So it really puts us right there with the competition and allows us to compete almost on a level playing field.
You walk us through for a moment, when you're consigning or talking to consigner, I mean, how do you decide if a coin collection gets broken down into individual lots or gets kept intact or is simply bought outright? Is there an insight or is there an assessment you run in there in terms of how you advise your clients the best way to liquidate their collection?
Well, it's good, really good. Well, your best question to date. It's really a value proposition. So what is going to put the most money in our client's pocket? So, if it's bullion related, it's very simple. There is an upside. It's a trade. And, what do they want to get out of it in terms of market price? Some people say, well, leave it up to you. And, I think these markets are rising and ebbing and flowing. It now is a good time to sell and liquefy bullion. Will it go up? Probably. If you sell it, it will. If you don't, it'll probably go down like my portfolio. But in reality, I think, it's value proposition. You've got collectible coins that other collectors are going to fight for. Heck, we're going to put them in auction and get you the best price. Outright purchase, you may have, 6 bags of pennies. I mean, putting that in an auction isn't going to do anyone any good. So we're going to offer to buy it from you and just trade it and probably lose money on that transaction by the time we actually get to it. But, the bottom line is we're putting you first, the client first. And with that, we're building our brand outward in these other new areas, and we're making a name for ourselves in those areas, and doing the service for our clients always brings it back home for us. We've always found that do first, get later has been a great strategy of ours, and it's really worked out well. And we're going to continue that in these other categories.
So this is no surprise, but I'm interested in your take on this one. Online bidding and marketing now is out of control in a good way, but boy, it's coming from every direction, right? And that's obviously had an impact on the auction business. So talk about Kelleher's technology investment. I know it's significant, for your sales and your auctions and do you think it's best in class or and it's ready for numismatics or is there some work to be done there?
So we're building out new technology that we'll be launching in likely first quarter of 27. We're leveraging current technology that we're able to access, our coin and stamp auction network, iCollector, Invaluable, Search. I mean, if you've got a European collection, we're going to put that up in Search coin, and it's going to get the traction in front of the buyers that want it, so they bid. And that's the good thing about these other categories. Unlike stamps, everyone seems to be a little bit younger and a little bit more tech savvy. So regardless of the platform you're on, they're able to bid. We again are building out our own technology that'll help with that, but it really hasn't hindered us in terms of accepting bids. In the sports card field, I was amazed at how long a lot will stay open. They leave these lots open. If somebody bids, it's open another 30 minutes. And I've heard clients tell me that they could be bidding at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm like, look, we have a public auction. You got 15 seconds to bid. If you don't bid, it's sold to the guy underneath you or the top bid at that time. And if you have remorse, I'm sorry, but that gives a finality to it. We were at the East Coast National Show last weekend, and clients were just like, we signed up several hundred new bidders just because of that very one aspect. So are we with the times? Absolutely. Are we going to build out and do better? Absolutely. Do we take into consideration our client needs? Again, absolutely. We're doing our very best, and I think our best will continue to get better.
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart because I know in the bidding that I do occasionally, you just feel like, gosh, it's going to get bid up. So why am I an hour or two or six ahead of the close? Because it just feels like everybody's going to tune in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and that's when the real action starts, right? The buyer, I like what you're doing there.
Well, you like it as a seller because it's going to make that buyer decide sooner what they're going to pay. I'm not sure, but by dragging it out, you get more. You may lose clients who don't want to stay up. They may just go away. My opinion, my humble opinion.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. You come in, you're ready to go, right? So it sounds like you're also actively building out your dedicated coin and paper money specialist team and doing this. Am I right in reading between the lines there that you're adding to your team of specialists?
We have two full-time positions in numismatics open, one in currency. We are in the final stages of hiring those two candidates. I believe we've got two extremely strong candidates that will help us on a full-time basis. We're using consultants right now. So as we've grown this out, we will probably by the end of the show next week, we'll have those people onboarded and starting. And we're excited about that because we've got the material flow coming in that substantiates that and allows us to go forward with our programs that we're putting and initiatives.
Good, good. Is there I don't want to reveal too much, but is there a collection that you got or a significant coin you got or a particular transaction you did for a client that kind of sticks out in your mind as a good example of the quality and service that we can provide to somebody?
Well, we've got three or four estate clients that we're dealing with through law firms that have interviewed several of the people you've mentioned earlier in the in this video. They chose Kelleher because of the level of commitment and time commitment we can make, where we're willing to do the work for those clients to present and do better. Um, the Walking Liberty set is a very good example. Registry set, of the Walking Liberty half dollar. That's not a pedestrian set. That's the finest PCGS graded set of Walking Liberty half dollars. There's some value there. So clients are choosing us because we're offering an alternative that may be slightly different, but the same as we've been doing for our stamp clients. And I think they're going to find that it works for them as well, both in coins, banknotes, and other categories.
Yeah, when I saw you in Boston a few months ago, you had that collection there, and it is spectacular, right?
Yeah, and we sold the Panda set too for the client. So we had that on display, went up into auction, and it's a vibrant marketplace. So if you engage it properly, you'll get the results, and that's the experience, and what we have found.
Yeah, good point. So let me ask you a kind of a different question. So, you've kind of alluded to it earlier that the stamp collecting world is less robust than coins. Maybe, and we've seen it aging out a little bit, if that's a term I can use, and we don't see that in coin. Now, maybe it's the intrinsic value of the base metal versus paper and ink. But do you see the same thing, or do you think the same thing will happen in the coin space?
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest. Stamp collecting was one of the greatest hobbies ever for hundreds of years. Scott catalogs, I don't know how many they sold this year, but look at how many red books were sold, and it's a small percentage of the stamp to coin book. And I think, yes, I think stamps are waning. Is that, it's a hard thing to accept because I love it as much as I love the other hobbies, but it's not gone. It's not going away. It's just different as these markets change and buyers change their patterns. As an auction company, you need to change with it, and that's one of the things that we're doing. And yes, it's stamps are on the decline. Rare stamps are still holding their own. We're selling rare stamps better than anyone right now, and there's a reason for that. And we're moving into other areas to shore up where we might be selling a little bit less in 10 years in stamps. We'll be selling a little bit more in coins, and it keeps our brand again relevant for the next 3 or 4 generations.
Well, it's just smart business. And, candidly, I not too long ago, some of these sports card companies were calling us up wanting to sell their publication to us because they were simply dying. And now look what's happened, over the last 10 years, right? That has
Oh
done
yeah,
a complete 180,
yeah,
and one of the hottest collectible spaces going right now. The question is how long will it last? But boy, it's certainly strong right now. So your point about coins versus stamps is probably the same truth.
exactly.
Yeah. So pennies and dollars, oddly enough, or we call them pennies, even though we all know it's a cent. Drew the highest bidders in some recent markets, and those categories. Um, I guess, do you specialize in any particular categories within the coin space, or is it reputation of Kelleher first? Doesn't matter, coin's a coin, if I can say that in a
Well,
sense.
I think we're going to present whether it's a penny, nickel, dime, quarter, half, dollar, 20-cent piece, 3 cent silver, 3 cent nickel, 5 cent nickel, we're going to present that in the marketplace. And there's enough traction and momentum in the marketplace that if we do our job correctly, the client gets the rewards. And that's kind of what we've seen. And we're not like a copper only house. Like there's a beautiful large cent collection being sold at the A&A that Chris has got at the show, or, specializing in high gold. We're really going to be the, I don't want to say generalist, but for everyone out there, we're going to sell your material in the best marketplace to try to get the best price for you. And we succeed more often than we fail. So we're very pleased about that. And, we've made some good inroads into this marketplace, which is truly vibrant and seems to be pushing forward.
Yeah. So I know you've been a long time businessman in this space, and you're making a long-term commitment here to the coin and paper market, which is great. 5 years from now, where do you want Kelleher Auctions to be in this space? What's kind of the goal that you and Larry have put together here?
We never really looked at being number one. We've always become number one because of our excellence and what we provide to our clients in service. So, I respect the heck out of the Heritage guys and the Stack's Bowers guys. We used to run the stamp division for Stack's Bowers, so they're no strangers to us. And, this isn't a unique one winner take all competition. There's room for us in this space, and there's a need for it because we're servicing the collections right now they don't really want to even service. I mean, I've heard sometimes people don't even get calls back because they have a collection only 10, 20, 30,000. So, we're looking to do the very best for our clients, irrespective of what everyone else is doing. I've never been a guy to look around and count other people's money. I've always looked at how can Kelleher be relevant? How can Kelleher service its clients? And if that puts us in direct competition with someone else, then so be it. I'm going to do my very best to do my very best job for my clients.
Yeah, well, it's fun. And I hear from dealers the same things I hear from consigners, which is sometimes they don't feel like they're getting the attention or the service that they would like to get.
Exactly.
And do you have a dealer strategy? Are you partnering with dealers? Are you working on programs like that, in essence, for their clients, if you will, that maybe have been a longtime customer of a particular dealer that now feel like maybe it's time to go the auction route with their collections? So are you building those relationships as well?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons we're at all these different coin trade shows. We'll be at more coin trade shows this year than we are stamp trade shows. Not surprising because there's a lot less stamp shows, but we're making an outreach. We're teaming up with some of the best numismatists we can find, and we're making the effort to really reach out and service those clients that deserve it. In other words, they have a nice collection. What are they going to do with it? We're going to show them exactly what to do with it and modify it for them in the best way. So yes, we are building those relationships with other traders and allowing them to share in that on a reasonable basis.
Good. So I want to believe, tell me if I'm wrong on this one. I would think that your experience, history, great service would, and being in stamps and now expanding to other areas, which others are doing as well. But I would think somehow that would be a value to you of that history and that space that could translate into the other collectibles. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. The strong history of collectors, any collector, is really exemplified by the Kelleher brand and what we offer to its large clientele list and to all of the collectors around the world. We've serviced, Hong Kong, China for many decades, Europe, Asia, pretty much everywhere. And yes, absolutely. I find that to be a strong suit for us to take those same principles of integrity and honesty and put them forth in these other marketplaces.
I think you're right. And you said something earlier, which is definitely true, because as you know, we have a long history in stamps as well. But collectors collect. And so if they got a coin collection, chances are they got a stamp collection too, or vice versa, right? And so I think now you having expertise in both fields will be a strength for you. Are you starting to see that yet?
Absolutely. Getting a lot of traction there. And it's really, it's amazing to me how many people say, oh gosh, I didn't know you did that. And I'm like, great. Well, we're going to do a better job at marketing because that's what we want to get out there. And, it's exciting. It's really, takes me back to, time when I was a young boy with my dad working with these coins. I curated a very important coin dealer stamp collection in Pittsburgh, Charlie Cheech Lippman, who was just one of these kind of guys. He would buy and sell anything, but he was just a great coin trader. And, curating his stamp collection put me in touch. Anytime he bought a coin, he'd say, "Hey, Dave, look at this coin. I just bought this at an auction." And, I appreciate it, even though it wasn't a stamp at that time. It was best in show at the time. And, that kind of comes up in any collectible category, as you pointed out. I saw Morphe just had an incredible fishing lure auction. I think they got $25,000 for a beautiful fishing lure. And I'm saying to myself, probably like some guys say, "Oh, stamps for 25 grand, a fishing lure for 25 grand," right? It's all relative to what your passion is. We have a great collector that collects tractors. I mean, where does it end? I don't know. I certainly don't know that I want to have a tractor auction, but I'd certainly have to consider it if the client said, "Hey, I want to sell."
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. And collectors collect. Watches are hot, sports card, music memorabilia. It's out there, and I think the times, look, our country is at an inflection point right now, right? And so hard currencies or things that have intrinsic value are becoming really important because your public equities, if you will, your retirement fund is kind of taking care of itself. And so people are looking to diversify, whether it's wine, watches, coins, stamps, sports cards, you name it. It's happening everywhere. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
So you think of all these new people. I mean, we're getting, coinworld.com, we're getting thousands of people every month that are new to our space that, you know, 65 years Coinworld's been around. This is year 66 that didn't know who we were. And kind of a surprise in the coin space. We all think everybody knows who our company is, but Kelleher's probably experiencing that. Well, experiencing that more, as you said, you're going to attend more coin shows than you have in the past, or certainly more than stamp shows. So, is there a misconception you think people may have associating with stamps, or is there a statement you would make to the new person coming to the space that should be thinking about considering Kelleher Auctions as being their go-to auction company?
Well, I think that stamps are a little bit more delicate, market piece wise, as they're made of paper. You know, Currency is made of paper, but it's a little bit more resilient. The stamp with the perforations and the glue and, all that really needs to be curated and protected very differently. So, what I would recommend to clients is that we can handle whatever the collectible is, as long as we feel we can modify it for you in the very best way. And, we do turn down deals if we don't think it's something we can help the client with. I mean, there are times, I hate to say it, truth be told, if we cannot provide a good service, we're going to tell you that up front. I'm not going to get into a deal just to make a few bucks and, not provide a service. I'd rather not do that, because at this point in my career, it's more about servicing and pleasing the client than it is to just making a few bucks.
I'm happy to hear you say that because you and I have known each other a moment, and I've forwarded a few stamp deals to you in the past, and some you said, yeah, we'd be happy to, and several you said, hey, there's nothing here for them. Sorry, we'll donate it to a local stamp club or something of that nature. So I know firsthand that your heart is where your mouth is on this one in terms of, hey, if there's a value here, we'll jerk you along, if you will, so to speak.
Correct.
So anyway, happy to do that. Is there any other thoughts or comments you would love to share or share with our listeners and our viewers in terms of Kelleher or the service that you and Larry are providing, or your team?
I think that Kelleher is just providing the same boutique white glove services we've done as the oldest philatelic or stamp auction house in America. Now we're expanded into coins, banknotes, sports cards, select memorabilia. We're really you should be your first choice if you're looking to bring something to market, because we're going to work harder than anyone else and provide the very best return on your modification of your collection.
David, thank you for spending time with us. It's a great story. I mean, from trading stamps in Pittsburgh to now leading one of the most interesting growth stories in the coin auction business. I mean, congratulations to you and your team, and for you being named to our 2026 most influential people list. And we'll be obviously watching to see where you take your business, and we wish nothing but the best for you. And so thank you for spending some time. For our viewers and listeners, thank you for watching. David and his team are some of the best folks out there. So not necessarily a glowing endorsement, but a good endorsement. You can trust David and his team. So if you're interested in learning more about it, reach out to us. We'll refer you to him. Or if you happen to be in the Northeast and in the Danbury, Connecticut area, give David and his team a call. I know they'd love to see you and meet you and talk. So thank you for watching. I'm your host, Rick Amos with Coin World. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rick.